Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates. I've been doing a lot of videos lately about the beta and everything I like about it and so on, but I thought it was time to talk a little bit about the things that I think needs to be changed for the launch and things I didn't quite like in the beta. And I'm gonna start off with the thing that I think a lot of people in the community has been very skeptical towards and that they haven't really implemented in a very good way, which is the crate system. Just to be clear, I really like crates in general. In other games I've played, it's fun to open something and see what you get. But the problem right now is that everything revolves around the crates. Every single piece of progression is solely through the crate system. There's no other way to progress. There is no XP level for your classes. But the class level is dependent on how lucky you are with the crates, which means that you can play the assaults all the time, and then you open a bunch of crates that gives you star cards for the specialists instead, which doesn't really make any sense. And sure, you do get crafting parts, but those are so rare in the beta that they barely have any effect on the progression at all, which means that you can't really choose what to progress. I have almost 25 hours of playtime in the beta, and I think I've maybe unlocked 5 things in total, and all of those were pretty cheap, and I'm not even close to being upgraded to an epic card by using crafting parts, which means that people are gonna have to play hundreds of hours to have any type of normal progression through crafting parts. And this is something that I think really needs to be changed and addressed for the full game. I think they've already said that things like duplicates from star cards will give you crafting parts, at least that's what I heard a while back. And if that is the case, that will definitely help quite a bit, because that means you would have had a lot more crafting parts to use, and that way you can actually put down quite a lot of progression into the specific class or hero that you want, which you can't do right now. But I still think that each hero and class should have some type of level based on how much you play them, and challenges specific for that class. Right now we had like 1 challenge per class that you got a crate for, and that's it. And if you've looked around the community the last few days, you've seen a lot of people upset about this on Reddit, different articles, Total Biscuit, Angry Joe, and so on. So it's something a lot of people are worried about, and I'm afraid, unfortunately, that this will hurt the game, even if the gameplay is really good, because that's what most people are saying. The gameplay is fantastic, and I completely agree on that. The problem is that this crate system and the progression system is going to turn people off from the game, and it's going to get a lot of pay to win complaints if there's no real way to progress by just playing. I know this is a beta, and I'm sure they have a lot of changes for the full game, but I still wanted to properly bring it up in this video to do what I can to bring attention to this problem, and hopefully the more people who speak about it, the more effort DICE will put into actually changing it and improving it for the full game. So in short, have more ways to progress that doesn't just require random luck, and make sure that loot crates are a part of the progression, not the whole progression as it is right now. Moving on, one of the most annoying things so far in the beta for me personally is the bugged party system. There's 2 parts to this. First off, there's not really a proper party system where you can spawn on people like the partner in the previous game, or like in Battlefield, like a lot of people have suggested, and that's one thing. I would love to have more team play where you can actually play together with your friends, but on the other hand, I do understand that you can't just have people spawn on people all the time like in Battlefield, because I think that's kind of annoying when you kill 2 people in a squad and then they just pop in 2 new droids. I'm not sure if I think that fits, but it definitely needs a better party system with more team play involvement. However, the biggest issue with the whole party system, and now I'm talking about PC and Origin, is the fact that we have 3 AAA launches in a row. Battlefront 1, Battlefield 1, and Battlefront 2. I know this is the beta, but still, that has an extremely bugged party system. First of all, if you add people above 100 friends, you can't add them to the party. That's why I had to delete like 900 people from my friend list. Sometimes the friend list doesn't even load in while you're in game, and you need to restart the game. Sometimes you've been in a party, you join a game, and everyone ends up in different games. And at some point you send an invite, it says sent invite, and you can't click the button again, and they have to restart the game for you to invite them. But the by far most annoying thing of all this is the fact that they've added so you can talk within the party with a microphone, which is good, but there is for some people no way to mute that. I had that issue, I know a lot of friends with that issue, where the mute button simply doesn't show up. So I literally cannot play with some people because I will hear their microphone twice if I'm talking to them on Discord or something like that, or I will just hear an annoying background noise all the time. You might remember from my first stream, I decided to invite a bunch of viewers to play with me, and all that happened was that I could hear a bunch of random people who didn't even know their microphones were on. So I had to disband that party and couldn't play with people. There's no settings either where you can go in and go like, okay, I don't want this feature at all, just disable it. Mute my microphone and make sure I don't hear anyone else. You can't do that. The only thing you can do, and again this works for some people, is that you have a mute button where you can go in and manually mute each person. And that is fine, if it would have worked. Because right now, if I play with someone else who doesn't have the mute option either, well, it's impossible. We simply can't play together. So that is my rant about the party system. It's a shame that there's so many issues with the party system in a lot of DICE games recently. And I heard that there were some issues on consoles as well, but I can't go into detail there because I don't play on console, so I just thought I would bring it up. Anyways, so those were the two big things that were really annoying in the beta, but now over to some more minor balancing and things that I think they need to change that aren't as serious but are probably also easier to fix. So first off, when we're talking about strike on Takodana, there was a couple of main issues I had here. First of all, the actual out of bounds zones were really annoying in this game mode because they keep moving around all the time, and at some points they were very strangely placed where you ended up outside the zone all the time. Although they were running there safely with the artifact, you couldn't even go in there because it was out of bounds. And it was at this point where we basically just ran into the zone, killed people, then ran back, and then did that over and over until we sometimes stayed more than 10 seconds in there and died. I don't really see the point of having those zones at all for some parts of the map. It might be positive in some regards, but overall I felt that the zones were really annoying on Takodana, and I know a lot of people agree with me on that. And another thing balance-wise is that the last phase, or the last part we're supposed to actually extract the artifact, is extremely hard for the First Order because of the fact that the resistance spawns so close to that final point. So even if you go there with the artifact, you kill their entire team, they will just spawn like 10 or 15 meters away from there, and they can just run back and kill you. And once the artifact is dropped there, well, they can just spawn and chuck nades there, and there's really nothing you can do. So I think that the main issue there is simply the spawn points. If they were to change the spawns to be either a lot further back or on some other part of the map, that would work better, because it doesn't make sense to me that you wipe out the entire extraction area, run over there, but they just come back 5 seconds later because they spawn so close. If you do take them out and you wipe out the entire team at the extraction point, well, then you should honestly win the game. So I just think those spawns need to be looked a little bit at. And lastly, regarding the strike, there's currently a way to abuse the artifacts over time if you just keep it on top of the castle and just make sure to not die. I know Tesco and some other people managed to get over 1,000 kills by doing this, so this is something they also need to look into. The overtime mechanic is good, but if they see that the overtime is going on for 5 minutes and the artifact isn't moving, well, just end the game so things like this can't happen. Moving on to Starfighter Assault, I think there's only two things I want them to change for Starfighter Assault. First of all, I think you need more points for playing the objective. And what I noticed here is that if you're the one who actually gets the killing blow on the ships or on the shield projectors, you do get 500 points, which is pretty good. But the problem is if you keep doing bomb round after bomb round and you do a lot of damage but you don't actually get the killing blow, well, you get a lot less points than if you were to just kill people. I've had multiple games where I decided to go full on objective and just attack the objectives, and I got so much less points than if I would have killed people, which doesn't really make sense because that means I have more incentive to just kill people, as I will also get more points to actually use for hero ships as well. So I think they need to bump up the amount of points you get for attacking the objectives so that you don't just get a lot of points for getting the killing blow on them. And also something you might have seen from Reddit, I think they do need to work a little bit on the hitboxes for the environment, because a lot of times it feels like you have a lot of free space but you actually slam into something and instantly die. And on top of that, if you do actually slightly nudge into something that you should actually have nudged into, I think you should bounce off it and take some damage, not instantly explode. But other than that, I think Starfighter Assault is pretty well balanced. The rebels can win, you simply need to play the objective, and I think that will come by itself if they increase the points you get for it. Now over to Galactic Assaults. I think the main issue for me here is that the MTT is too weak. At the start, like the first day or so, people used to not win the first phase, but right now you pretty much win the first phase all the time as the clones if you have a decent team, and I've even stopped playing the objective altogether because I wanted to progress to the next two phases. So I think they either need to buff up the health of the MTT a lot so that you can almost not kill it, or just make it so that even if you do destroy the MTT, the game continues to the next phase, just that the droids gets a lot less reinforcements. I think that's probably a better solution, but if that's pretty hard to do, well, simply buff up the health to the MTT to the point where you will pretty much lose the first phase 90% of the times, because I think most people do want to progress to the next two phases. And while you're inside, I think the capture mechanic for the two panels is a little bit awkward, because you need to stand there and look into the wall for like 30 seconds and just hold down E. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, and on top of that, if you move slightest to the left or right, it cancels, so you can't shoot at people while you're capturing it like in the previous game. So I think they either need to completely remake that capture mechanic or make the actual area a little bigger so you can look around and shoot people while you are capturing it. And lastly, on Galactic Assault, the doors that close after the second phase, please do something about them, because it's so frustrating if you are on the Republic side and the door closes on you and you're stuck there and die, especially if you just bought a hero for 5,000 battle points, because the doors close so quickly that you don't really have time to get in there. It happened to me when I picked Han and the doors closed and I was stuck there with like 10 battle droids and I just died. So I think those doors need to be looked at. And now over to some more specific things regarding heroes and classes. First of all, just a very quick mention that yes, the Flame Trooper needs to be buffed. Christian has already confirmed that it will be buffed. And the EE4 needs to be nerfed, and they also confirmed that it has been nerfed. So I don't need to go into any detail there, because they will be taken care of. In terms of the officer, I think the actual gameplay with the officer is a lot of fun. However, he gets way too little points when played. Even if I run around and just have a bunch of supportive abilities such as the Disruption, Diffuser and the Battle Command, I still get way too little points. It seems like you don't get any points at all if you buff someone. If I do understand correctly, it works this way. If you buff someone up, you get no points, but if you buff someone up and they kill someone, you get a kill assist for it. So that's a good mechanic, because that means you can't just stand in the spawn and buff people for extra points. However, it's still too little. I feel like that kill assist does not make up for the fact that you don't get anything from buffing. So at least if someone has half health and you boost them, that should definitely give you points, because it currently doesn't. Because then you have actively helped someone and you didn't just boost them because you spawned with them. So I just think that overall, if the officer is boosted up a little bit in terms of how much points it gets, it doesn't really matter if he gets less kills, because that is not his role. I do think the rush abilities both on Rey and on Han Solo is a little bit awkward. I preferred how they worked in the previous game. I'm not sure, this might be something that I will learn while using them more, but I do think Rey feels a little bit too weak. I have seen some people pull off some pretty good streaks with her though, so I don't want to say she needs a massive buff. I think I just need some more practice with her. But if you compare to the other heroes, I do think she feels a little bit too weak. That is just my opinion, but nothing that's a major issue. The LAAT also needs to be buffed. It goes down very quickly. I mean, if you are on the ground and it shoots on you, I was able to take it out in about 10 seconds with a normal sniper rifle. So that really shows how weak it is. It needs to have a lot more health and also be easier to kill with, because right now the LAAT is basically just waste of battle points. And now over to some more kind of progression stuff. I've already covered how the progressions should be changed, but I think that the credits overall that you get from each game were way too low, and the main issue that I saw was that the credits were not affected by how well you played. And I liked in the previous game where they basically took that if you got 5,000 score, I think you got 500 credits. That's a perfect system, because that motivates you to get a high score, no matter if you kill people or if you play the objective. Right now, that didn't really make any sense. It could be because it was just a beta, but I still wanted to bring it up because it felt like you don't really got any reward for playing well in a particular match. And then lastly, I also think you should be able to open crates, buy upgrades and do all that kind of stuff between the game, because right now you have 60 seconds of downtime between the games where you can't really do a lot other than just changing around the star cards you already have. So I do understand you shouldn't be able to do it mid-game, but during that 60-second period of time, I really do think you should be able to just open some crates, buy that mod you want, and so on. And lastly, there is one more thing I want to bring up, which is the looks of the star cards. I thought they were a lot better in the pre-alpha, where they had the classical white common, green uncommon, blue rare, purple epic, and then the orange for legendary cards, which I don't know if they will still be in the game. But right now they look kind of underwhelming. I don't think the images are bad, those are actually really good. So I think the best combination here would be if they kept the color scheme of the pre-alpha but used the images of the beta. That way you would be able to recognize the actual color of them a lot easier, but they would still look very nice as they do now. But I think that wraps up my video. I just realized that this video was a lot longer than I expected, but I wanted to get my full thoughts out there, and if just one developer watches this, well, then I'm happy because I've gotten my point across. And I think my thoughts also represents what a lot of people feel in the community, because pretty much everything I've brought up in this video I've seen either on Reddit or you guys tweeting me or telling me during streams. But I'm sure I've missed some minor things. Obviously there can be thousands of little balancing tweaks done, but these were the main things that I really felt like they could be fixed for the full game, especially the things I brought up at the start of the video. Please let me know if I missed anything, and if you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe for more Battlefront 2 content. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.